During Black History Month, the Dripping in Black podcast continues to shine a bright light on modern day history makers. On this episode, we speak with the Executive Director of Class Act Detroit, Rashard Dobbins. Rashard and I discussed quite a few topics regarding hip hop, our history, and the importance of community in our neighborhoods. Dobbins explains what Class Act does and why the work is so impactful.
I think at the end of the day, it's about inspiration and it's about self-actualization as well. You got to have a strong self-identity to be able to become who you're destined to be. What I love to see is you be a pastor, teacher, lawyer, preacher. Pastor, preacher, same thing. But you write on and on, and you know your wellness activity when you get off your shift at the hospital is your drawing, or you're selling art, right? You're building a legacy that way. Maybe you create, make music. Maybe you hop on the sax, right? On and on, because once again, that's going to sustain you throughout your life, right? And it's going to inspire others at the same time. And we know.
Welcome to the Dripping in Black podcast, where we celebrate Black excellence throughout the Black diaspora. Here's your host, David V. Lewis.
What's up, good people all across the world? This is the Dripping in Black podcast. I am your host, David V. Lewis. And as usual, we have another fantastic guest who represents Black excellence. Today's guest is Rashard Dobbins. Rashard, say hello to the world.
What up, though? How's everybody doing?
Yeah, so you happen to know my producer, Sean Smith, pretty well. He thought it'd be good to have you on. And there's a few things that you do and do very well, so we'll get into that. But as usual, we like to start off our podcast by introducing our guests to our audience. And we ask them a simple question that's not so simple when you think about it, and that is, who are they? So if I said, who is Rashard Dobbins, what would you say?
Man, I would say there's a kid from Ipsy, man. From Ipsy, who moved around a whole lot, saw a lot of different things, and through that honed his skills and became qualified for his calling,
man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, kid from Ypsilanti. What schools did we attend out there?
Oh, see, there we go. See, part of my story is going to a new school every other year. So, that's why I said, wow. You get qualified for your calling, man. For me, that's, I lived in Ipsy the longest stretch of time. Ann Arbor, obviously Atlanta, Detroit, right? So on and so forth. So I went to 3 different high schools. So for me, just always was in transition, which, just allowed me to see what's going on around me, and really be a fly on the wall in different communities throughout the country.
Yeah. I can relate. I attended 3 different high schools myself.
There you
it wasn't
go.
because we were bouncing around. It's because I was a bit of a knucklehead. When I was
it's some of that in there too. I just
definitely...
ain't want to go into it. it's some of that in there too.
Yes, I can definitely relate. What would you say school life was like for you then? How would you describe school life in general?
Man, it's funny because, right, I became an educator, but for me, I hated school. There's nothing about school that I like. I don't like anything about the institution. I don't like anything about the curriculum, right? I was one of those kids who, we're in the holiday season. I don't want to spoil anything for young listeners, but, I was that kid in elementary school on like, hey, this not real, right? It's this. And that's always me. And it's funny how those stories, we overlook them, right? Our family sometimes will laugh about them. Like, I got a call, you saying, challenging the teacher about the holidays or about this or about that. But it's like looking at who I am now, and who I've become as far as a community advocate and an organizer and, leading a nonprofit, man, it makes complete total sense because I'm advocating. It wasn't just for me, but it was for my colleagues, my students, or I should say rather my friends at the time, right? So, yeah.
So let's jump right into what you do. Class Act Detroit.
Yeah.
nonprofit. Let's talk about it. What is Class Act?
Man, Class Act uses hip hop as a community engagement tool that it is. We founded in a home in Bagley Fitzgerald, right off of West McNichols, up the street from Lou's Deli, up the street from Mary Grove College. And in true Hillsville fashion, we turned every single room into a studio. Full photography studio, right, with lights, backdrops, and so on and so forth. Full music studio with, soundproof paneling and so on. Full dance studio with wall-to-wall mirrors, parent engagement areas, the whole nine, right? Just truly keeping it, Detroit to its core, right? Making something out of nothing, And from there, we've just blossomed. We've been blessed ever since.
Okay. And what year did you start?
2017.
Okay.
Pre-Panda.
2017.
Pre-Panda.
Yeah, that's crazy how the pandemic is a marker for everything now, right?
Absolutely.
2017.
Absolutely.
We are closing out at the time of this recording, 2021 ahead into 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're knocking on 5 years in the game.
Yeah. It's been a long road.
Okay, so
man.
Tell me a little bit more. If I'm going to Class Act, what's a day like?
What's a day like? So for your scholar, so we serve scholars as young as elementary on, so adolescent. That's what we're focused on. Adolescent youth in Detroit. And it could be a number of things. It could be music production workshops, DJing workshops. We have a community step team, which now obviously with, in-person engagement being what it is, has been defunct for, a few months. But dance classes, right? It's a rotation of just, a who's who of everything that we were interested in when we were kids. We have scholars who have done game design workshops, illustration workshops, and illustrated books. We have students who their music has been featured in the Library of Congress, right? And being added to the collection, like all from Detroit, right? All coming from a house, and now just from their homes, wherever that may be. So it's a number of things, but we always keep it within elements of hip hop. Our whole goal is about being culturally relevant and engaging. You asked me what was school like. Like I said, I hated it, right? I didn't see myself. We know that Black male educators is less than 3% nationwide, right? So for me, I just didn't, I couldn't connect. I didn't see myself in the curriculum. There's things that I just kind of grew up knowing and would hear from my grandfather, who, was the essentially like my dad, right? And I'm like, man, I'm not learning any of this in these schools, right? I need to, So if anything, school really developed, between being Black in America and, having a hunger for knowledge, right? Not necessarily loving the systems of education. All of that summed up, just made me have this thirst for knowledge, this thirst for to be an entrepreneur and to really like pioneer my own path. So it makes sense that our organization is empowering our youth, are amplifying their voice and allowing them to take charge, right? Through podcasting, through production, right? You're able to communicate in so many different ways. We just call it media, right? Different forms of media.
Yeah. It's podcast adds a little something different to the game too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It really gives us a way to share our voice in a unique way. Every podcast can have their own kind of lane, and it gives an opportunity to counter some of the mainstream perspectives, right?
Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. If you don't like what you see,
so
you have the opportunity to change it.
I'm still a little curious about Class Act. Is this like an after school thing, or
after school?
How does it work?
After school. So we push into churches, schools. We partner with other after school programs across the city, west side to the east. We've even taught as far as Pontiac as well. For us, at the end of the day, to your point, if there's things that you don't like seeing, there's certain media that's being created that's harmful. You have the ability to change it. Every community they're empowered and endowed with what they need to change it. And we just have to take a step back and realize that. And typically it's resources or just community, right? There's because of the lack of resources, it tends to be friction. It tends to be dog eat dog. And I think, you know, any opportunity to bring to create opportunities for community to do, you know, what we love doing, which is the cookout, right? Creating that atmosphere, that's what we need. That's what we need. But yeah, for us, after school program, we're creating a vibe all throughout the city. You know, in a number of different, you know, organizations.
Yeah, I was looking a little at your bio, and it says you have quite the entertainment career as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. You've done some shows and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've been in a number of you know, television shows, feature films, worked on them, been in the front, both, you know, in front of the camera, behind the camera. Also worked as a talent agent for, you know, one of the top agencies in the entire Southeast when I was in Atlanta. And all of that leads me honestly to what I'm doing now, because, you know, growing up, there's so many things I wanted to do, and we didn't have the money, right? We didn't have the money, we're moving. At times we've lost homes, right? So to have the opportunity to give someone a 15, 20, 8-year head start, you know, that's really the goal. But, you know, my background in entertainment is pretty deep. It wasn't until my junior year of high school that I discovered I actually was an artist and a creative, right? I knew it to a certain extent, right? I always loved music. I could draw early on. But if you don't have a platform and a stage for that, you know, those gifts will disappear. You'll forget about them, right? You'll move on. For me, you know, it became hooping was the thing to do. And I think, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, the only time where people want to hear a Black man or see a Black man express himself is on a court or in court. And I don't know, I feel like somehow we, you know, you can have all the emotion in the world dunking on somebody or scoring a touchdown, and it's like, all right, we approve it. But, you know, you go to somewhere, you know, outside your community or something like that, they're looking at you crazy. You know, you can't really do that. You know, of course, in court, then they'll listen to you. So those are the two places where they're listening to you. And I feel like naturally we're attracted to it. But junior year, I went to a good high school, a school that I actually was able to be at for more than 1 year, which was a change for me as somebody who had been moving every year since elementary years. And that school had a tremendous art program. Had no idea. And and doing that, they really helped me pull some of those gifts out. You know, I tried to keep taking gym, obviously, as a hooper. And they're like, man, you've been taking gym your whole career. You got to say something else. And it was drama. And I took it and didn't know I could do improv. Didn't know I could do all of these different things. And my teacher would really just let me get the stage at times and just rock it. And I would just go about my business like that was normal. You know, I wasn't thinking of it. She was allowing me to shine and do my thing. So, you know, it came time for different auditions later on in the year and things. And she gathered a group of my friends to, you know, kind of put that plug in my ear and say, show up. And next thing I know, you know, I'm discovering other talents, right? Singing and dancing and, you know, becoming a thespian, right? All of these different things, which led to me working in, you know, that sector in almost any position you can name. Right. But that doesn't happen unless I get that opportunity, right? Unless that light gets turned on. And that stage is built.
It's crazy. The little things along the way that impact us in such a huge way. Absolutely. And while you were talking, I was thinking about how important performing arts is in the realm of education. And it's really so much, you know, I'm a history teacher, but it's a lot that I envy with the performing arts teacher, because, you know, for instance, if I'm a dance teacher, you know, we're working towards a performance. So everything that we're doing really is towards something, and the students know that they're adding their skills to that, and it makes sense when the performance comes, right? It's a little harder to garner that audience as a history teacher, because a lot of times the kids don't make the connection with what we're teaching in history and how it really applies to your knowledge base and how it can carry you in the future. They don't really necessarily see that connection. So I'm kind of envious of the performing arts, because the kids kind of get that, especially if they're attracted to that particular art form, right?
Absolutely. It makes it sticky for them. And honestly, in a nutshell, that's what Class Act is about, right? It's somebody who, like I said, education. I was like, no, But then, you know, I had that one opportunity at a school that was a well-established school. They were well-resourced. And they had this amazing art program that I had no clue about, right? And that was the game changer. And I think, yeah, that's what Class Act is about, is making it sticky, being culturally relevant, making sure that we're making these connections, because you got to reach the teach, not the other way around. And I think this, you know, it's set up right now to where, you know, I have this degree, I'm qualified, therefore you should listen to what I'm saying, when life doesn't work that way, right? Leadership and relationship is all built on trust, you know? So, you know, like you said, even someone like yourself, because we're not working towards something that's actionable, that's sticky for the students, it almost makes us like Charlie Brown's teacher, right? You just get tuned out because it's like it's not relevant. And I think the whole goal, once again, is to reach. I mean, that's what it's about. If you can't reach, you can't help. You know, you're not qualified. There's no relationship.
Yeah. So 5 years into the game with Class Act, I'm sure you learned quite a few lessons along the way.
Of course.
Yeah. What's some advice now that you would give your younger self when you first started?
How much time you got? How much time we got? Man, you know what? Man, that's a good question. Man, first thing that popped up in my mind was take care of yourself and put your oxygen mask on. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm the older sibling, oldest grandchild, right? All of that, and you know, just growing up fast, man. My father was in a car accident, you know, right after I was born. He was in a coma for a year. Has been in assisted living my entire life. So that's why I say my grandfather, right, became my dad, right? And I'm grateful that I have my pops alive. But you know, everything I get, you know, what makes me who I am, you know, as a man, a lot of that comes from him, from my grandfather, man, and him just pouring into me and being able to sit at his table and eat food and just get poured into, man. But I think, you know, when you grow up seeing those things, and you grow up seeing a lot of different traumas in your neighborhood and in your environment, no matter where I live, it forces you to grow up super fast. And, you know, for whatever reason, for me at least, I was like, hey, something's gotta change. I gotta do something about this, which is great, right? Once again, it's another, I can go over a million different funny and not so funny stories that show, man, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And it starts that young. But I think what I always would do, you know, when I hear put your oxygen mask on, first I always would be like, nah, I'm gonna help everybody. I'm gonna help my people around me. That's good. That's heroic. It sounds good, but it's not sustainable. And you know, at the end of the day, when you talk about why this podcast exists, why Class Act Detroit exists, why we do what we do, why it's even named what it's named, we understand that there's a history, a beautiful history that we have, but at the same time, it's a lot of trauma. And when we talk about 400 plus years, man, it's gonna take half of that time for us to remotely get to the equity that we want to see. So if you're not putting an oxygen mask on, if you're not taking care of yourself, resting and sleeping, because it's two different things, you know, if you're not doing that and taking care of yourself, you know, you're essentially almost like Moses, or Moshe, right? Who's the promised land is right there in sight, but man, you're not going to experience that thing, right? Because you're not going to get there. And I know, you know, biblically it's a little bit different as to why that is, but you know, just for what argument's sake, you know, it's there, but we got to get there together. It's going to take a lot of time, you know, and it starts with our scholars. Simple as that. They're not the future, they're the now, and we're the new ancestors. So it's like, you know, you don't have to have gray locks to consider yourself that person. You could be in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, right? Or even before that, and already be laying the blueprint for the promised land, sowing those seeds so that the fruit produces in your lifetime and the next. And it keeps going. I think that's the biggest one that would sum up all of them, man, is just putting that oxygen mask on for myself. Because we've raised, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for our community. And that's a beautiful thing. And as I begin to mature as well, I'm like, yo, I want to have kids of my own. I have plenty of babies throughout the city, right? That's how I look at it. But you got to make sure you're taking care of yourself, and you're also getting to the goals that you have set for yourself.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson there. I love the analogy. So I mean, I'm hearing that like if you're on a plane and the oxygen mask drops down, first thing you got to do is grab yours before you can actually start assisting others.
You
And
got to.
so
You
it's
got to.
interesting. That also means that the plane is in trouble.
Also mean the plane is in trouble. And
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. And there's somebody
yeah,
who moved, man, you know, Greyhound car or on a plane all the time. I would hear that, right?
mm,
And I was just like, nah, I'm gonna
yeah,
say to 4 people around me, but it's like if you put your oxygen mask on, you have the potential to help 40. And I know it
yeah,
doesn't seem like that. And sometimes our trauma is informing what we're doing, but it's like, yo, you gotta slow down and realize the people that sitting here, people here, yeah, you could take care of them, but it's a whole plane worth, you know, especially if you about
yeah,
that life. And I'm one of those people, you know, I'm like, hey, when the stuff hits the fan, it's game time for me. It's an easy
yeah,
switch. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So Class Act Detroit. Um, Now a student gets into your program. Is there an exit point for them, or is it just you come as much as you want, as long as you want?
Yeah, a little bit of both. It's funny you say that. So as far as the exit plan, you know, it's funny. Almost any scholar who's been a part of our program, whether they're currently active in classes
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Friday or on a Wednesday, whatever, or not, or we did a summer session, you know, at a church and we've been in touch or whatever. What I've noticed a trend is scholars seeking opportunities on their own or starting businesses in particular. So we have scholars who have started doing bows, hair bows, and a number of businesses, lemonade stands,
Mm-hmm.
illustrating books, as I mentioned, and entering into gaming competitions. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's about inspiration and it's about self actualization as well. You got to have a strong self identity to be able to become who you're destined to be. You know, I think it's so many things
Yeah.
trying to tell you who you are, which way you should go, and
Mm-hmm.
naturally, I think when we're young, you know, when we're children, you know, we think it's some type of external thing, and typically it's there. You know, a lot of people are gonna watch this and like,
Yeah.
man, I do love drawing, and then get into it when they're closer to retirement, right, and get back to the love. And I think, you know, things are set up to kind of show us that we think that we're not able to be successful as a musician or as a creative, when really the creative
Yeah.
economy, there isn't a cap on what you're able to do and what you're able to own and
Yeah.
accomplish. You know, and I'm not saying everybody's going to be Oprah or Diddy, but um, what I love to see is you be a pastor, teacher, lawyer, preacher. Well, pastor, preacher, same thing, but you write on and on and on, and you know, your wellness activity when you get off your shift at the hospital is your drawing, or you know, you're selling art, right? You're building
Mm-hmm.
a legacy that way. Maybe you create, make music, maybe you hop on a sax, right? On and on and on,
Mm-hmm.
because once again, that's going to sustain you throughout your life, right? And it's going to
Yeah.
inspire others at the same time. And we know, you know, especially in Detroit, um, we have this beautiful export of arts and culture and uniting folks, right? From Motown to our gospel traditions, to our neo soul and hip hop traditions, R&B, so on and so forth. And that's all just talking about music, let alone the
Yeah.
other things that we do, right? We're the station you're tuning into in the car, and we built the car that you're moving in. So, right, that's just part of who we are, ideas and innovation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And would you say Class Act, one of the things that you all are doing is cultivating, helping your students cultivate their
Absolutely.
self-identity?
Absolutely.
Is that
That's
is that the core of what you're doing?
that's the core.
Yeah,
That's the
because
core. It's
I'm listening to your story, and your story is not it's not unique. You know, a lot of us that grow up in the hood, if you will, or grow
mm-hmm,
up in urban area,
mm-hmm,
um, get into school systems not really designed for those kids. We
sure.
get kind of bored with it. We start doing other things, and
Mm-hmm,
once we get older, we kind of pull away from that and try to find other ways to kind of learn what's
sure.
really knowledgeable and what's really worth learning.
Mm-hmm,
And along that way, you kind of identify, searching for your own self identity. So I
yeah,
heard that in your own story, and now you're kind of
sure.
doing that full circle with Class Act. I'm curious about the
Yeah,
name Class Act, because I can see it going a lot of different ways. Talk to me about the name.
yeah. You know, when I hear class act, first of all, class act means right, well-rounded. Paul Robeson, Dr. King. Brother Malcolm, Fred, these Angela Davis, right?
Yeah.
My
favorite.
This grocery list of this individual. I mean, come on, you defend yourself. I mean, the time she does it, I mean, we can go on about any of them, especially her. But it's these superheroes, right? It's all of these individuals who are superheroes, and they're very much like people in the communities that we grow up in. There's somebody that we're able to name that everyone else want to know who moves like that. But yeah, it means well-rounded. It means somebody who knows who they are. I mean, it's funny. I believe that anger gets things done, right? And I'm not saying necessarily in a bad way, right? But a righteous anger, like that, like Dr. King and the thousands behind him and in front of him, to the side of him, they're not happy about what's going on. They're doing something about it, right? When you hear Malcolm speaking the way with authority, the way that he's speaking, that's somebody who knows who he is. That's somebody who's well aware of consequences and everything else, and still is making that decision to be his best self, right? He's there, right? Angela's like, I see what it is. Let me defend myself. Like, let me do this, right? And at the same time, they're creating programs that our nation ends up taking over after they, try to take everything apart, right? So, I mean, just high level individuals who know who they are, who understand it, who are into history, who are full of knowledge, and are just really tapped into their talents and their superpowers. I mean, it's this work that we're talking about, man. I look at it like the Avengers, and I was, blessed to be in an amazing fellowship over the past 2 years with the Kellogg Foundation. And in that, it's 80 different people came together from around the nation. And prior to everything that's happened, we were traveling, right? We're going to New Mexico, we're going to San Diego, we're going to all the Jackson, going to Mississippi, and going to Medgar Evers' home, right? Going to the home and seeing that, this brother is the first, officer there, right? And it's a reason for the NAACP, right? Because it's Mississippi, right? And the time that it's in, and yet he still is bold, it still is brave, it's still assured of what he's doing. I mean, when he's, when Brother Evers was murdered, he's holding shirts that say Jim Crow must go, right? His blood's going onto white t-shirts that say, like, come on, man. Like, this is a person that knows who they are. And modern times, I even think about people like Nipsey, who built a STEM center for kids at the bottom of their co-working space, and was making a whole lot of other moves for community, right? To use what I believe is the civil rights movement 3.0, 2.0, which is hip hop, because it's a universal language. It's about upcycling and recycling culture, and it's always about brand new genius, right? So, I mean, that's where it comes from. Definitely well-rounded, and the backs of our ancestors, the backs of those who have been putting it down before us.
Yeah. So you got Class Act going. It's been going for 5 years. You've maintained a certain level with it, but what's the next level for it? What does it look like? What does it sound like?
What does it look like? What does it sound like? It looks like us owning our own space and being able to really unite our community, within the nonprofit sector, let alone Southeast Michigan. I mentioned competing resources and all of that. We need a COFO center in Detroit, right? We need places that are attractive for individuals who are doing this work, for other orgs, for churches, schools, people that get it, people that think outside the box, and understand that we have to reach the teeth. So it looks like a house of hip hop, which is an endeavor that we're working on. It looks like a community gathering space and workspace, almost like a gym membership for creators, if you will, where anything that you need is there. You can manifest whatever it is that you want to be and do, and for free. That's what it looks like. And as far as, I think, did you say sound? What's it sound like?
Yeah, just just a full experience.
It's heat.
Take me
right?
there. Basically,
it's heat. It's our life's blood. It's our DNA. I mean, it's that boom bap that from West Africa it's the talking drums that brothers and sisters we're using to keep one another alive on the journey, right? You know, and it's that vibe that you get when you're at the lunchroom. You know, when you're in the school and you go to the lunchroom and you see a cipher form and it's somebody with a pen, right? And it's others jumping in real time in sync with one another. That's what it's gonna sound like, you know, and a variety of, you know, genres. But that's a beauty of hip hop as a culture, let alone if we're talking about the genre, it's upcycling and recycling our culture and appreciating others. And I mean, that's what it's gonna look like. That's what it's gonna feel like. And you know, it's really access. You know, it's getting. It's like Willy Wonka in a chocolate factory, right? You've been chosen. You have this gift. You got the golden ticket. Come be and do what you want to do.
Yeah, that's dope, man. So speak a little bit to our audience. We have a growing audience at Dripping in Black. What's something tangible anybody that's listening and watching can actually do to support you in your growth?
Word. You know, I could ask for money easy, right? You know, we're a nonprofit, things like that. I could say and go down that list. I think most people will get that. I would actually say time and expertise. You know, if we were a soup kitchen, if we were doing things for people in our city, you know, and you're an accountant, you could help us in the back make the soup and serve the soup, but it'd be a lot better if you come help us with the books. So I think time and expertise. You know, we've especially over these last 2 years with everything moving online, we've been able to work with people as far as Brazil, the UK, you know, plenty of people in New York and New Jersey within the industry in particular, in entertainment, Cali, Atlanta, so on and so forth. Because they see what we're doing, they get it. They're a part of this tribe that is hip hop and the art, the creative community, and they're saying, yo, you know, I do game design, I work for this company. You know, I'd love to do a class for a month or two. You know, I'd love to show up to your annual MLK event with Target. I'd love to write, you know, we've had people do that. So I think that's really the life's blood of who we are. We never say volunteers, you know, we actually say family. And we know family is better than relatives. And if you're lucky, your family, you know, is both. But family is something, you know, higher and more sacred. And I think that anybody that's gotten down with us, whether they've donated monetarily or donated with the things that you can't get back, which is your time, your expertise, your health, whether it's virtual or in person, you know, that's what we typically want. You know, if there's connections that can help us, you know, finish our capital campaign for House of Hip Hop, which is coming soon, very, very soon. You know, that's what we want. You know, give us you, bring you, whoever you are and what you bring to the table, bring your most authentic self so you can help our scholars be and become their most authentic self. Because we need femtors and mentors all day.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like you're looking for more family members to join
More family members,
in
man.
essence.
The cookout, look, the cookout's going on in the back. Don't need to knock on the door. Show up, you know, you invited. You don't got to ring the doorbell. Just come to the back and let's make it happen.
Yeah, man. It's a really tremendous work that you're doing, man. Excited about what the future holds and more excited about the impact that you're having on the youth. You know, that's what it's all about. So drop some of that social media where they can reach out to you and contact you.
For sure. Everything is at Class Act Detroit. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We can use a Twitter volunteer. Want to step our Twitter game up. But yeah, classactdetroit.org and everything else is at Class Act Detroit. And then if you want to get in contact by email, you can do info@classactdetroit.org, Rashard @classactdetroit.org, RASHARD @classactdetroit.org. And man, link with us, build with us. You know, let's be the Avengers.
Yeah. All right. So we got all the easy questions out the way. Now let's get to the serious question.
Word. Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Have you ever been on the cover of a magazine?
Have I ever been on the cover of a magazine? I might have. But it wouldn't be like something super popular. I'm gonna say no. So part of acting, I did some modeling stuff. So you never know, man. I got some got some stuff floating around. Hopefully nobody digs it up.
So you're not sure if you've been on the cover.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know
our
I'm
crack
in,
staff might have to dig that up.
Yeah, I know I'm on the inside of a couple joints.
Okay, you've been on the inside, but never featured on the cover as far as you can think of.
Yeah, as far as I can.
Well, one of the things we do here for all of our guests is we place them on a magazine cover. We have the Dripping in Black magazine, and so we like to place our guests on the cover. So S Square Sean Smith is going to give you your cover.
Word.
All right. So that is also a parting gift. We will print that out and send it out to you as a thank you. And, you see a few people that have gotten theirs over my shoulders, previous guests from season 1. And we like to put them on the Wall of Fame once we get them out to them. So that's just our thanks for coming on.
Hey, appreciate it. And I love some of the people in the back there on that Wall of Fame are actually partners of ours. Right. When you talk about the Avengers, there's 2 I can see already that are part of the movement, man. Yeah,
it's two big ones up there that I haven't interviewed yet. But I'm still pressing forward. And that's Barack and Michelle. So we'll keep working till we get them.
There you go.
But everybody else, I think, has been I got Chad back there. That was in honor of him. Everybody else, I think, is one of our alum. So we thank you, man, for coming out. We thank you for the work you're doing. Keep up the good work, and we'll support you in all the ways that we can. But thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, for sure. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. We ask our audience to hang on for the final segment, The Last Drip. But thanks again to Rashard Dobbins from Class Act Detroit.
Up next, The Last Drip.
Dripping in Black thanks to Rashard Dobbins for his tremendous passion for reaching and teaching our youth. We wish him and Class Act Detroit much continued success. However, we have reached the final segment of our podcast called The Last Drip. The Last Drip is the last opportunity for us to squeeze in a bit more of Black excellence for you. In this final segment, we highlight a common thread between our guest and our vast and rich African-American history. For this episode, we turn our attention to someone who is still making history, Mr. Paul Hill Jr. Born in 1945 in Cleveland, Ohio, Paul would graduate from John Adams High School in 1964. He earned a bachelor's from Ohio University, a master's degree from both the University of Kentucky and the University of Wisconsin. From 1981 to 2011, Paul served as CEO for one of the oldest neighborhood-based nonprofit organizations in Cleveland, Ohio, the East End Neighborhood House. From 1989 to 1992, Paul was a Kellogg Foundation Leadership Fellow. Paul was afforded an opportunity to travel and examine cultures throughout the world as a part of this fellowship. In 1992, he wrote the book Coming of Age, based on these experiences and his research. In 1993, he would establish the National Rites of Passage Institute. Since 1993, the National Rites of Passage Institute has trained hundreds of adults who have impacted over tens of thousands of young people throughout the United States and Canada. Like this episode's guest, Rashard Dobbins, Paul Hill Jr. has and is doing a great work to help mold and shape our youth into successful, productive adults. And this is why he is this episode's last drip. For more on Paul Hill Jr., check out tedxcle.com, case.edu, thehistorymakers.org, and nropi.org. My thanks to all of these websites for the knowledge. A friendly reminder that the DIBK Drip Shop is open. Go to dibkdripshop.com to cop the latest Drippin' in Black merch. And as always, a huge thanks to all of our listeners, viewers, supporters, and subscribers. And a big shout out to the best producer in the podcast game, S Squared Sean Smith. And until next time, be kind, be loving, and be excellent on purpose. It is a choice.
You have just experienced a Dripping in Black production.